Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session. I'm super excited to introduce our presenter today. Dr. Jessica Thompson is a lecturer at the University of West Georgia and an adjunct instructor for Old Dominion University and an associate instructor for the UAGC campus. Jessica authored the 2021 Knowledge Quest article, Cultivating Our Self-Efficacy as a School Librarians, co-authored the 2021 School Library Research article, School Librarians, Teacher Self-Efficacy, a predictor of reading scores, and authored the 2015 School Librarian Connections article, Ladies and Fairies and Cats. Oh my. So she has done so many cool things, and I've really enjoyed getting to know her. She is interested in how self-efficacy of school librarians affects student learning and all things school library related, including engaging students in reading activities. So Jessica, thank you so much for being here today. We're super excited, and the floor is yours. I have 2 more slides, but I'm super excited you're here.
Thank you so much.
This is just a disclaimer that an online degree from UAGC does not lead to immediate teacher licensure in any state. We will leave this up for just a second. If you are interested in becoming a teacher, you will need to go to your individual state and follow their steps and procedures. Next slide. Okay, and UAGC does not provide any of the links to any of the websites in the presentation today. And Dr. Thompson, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. So just a little bit more about me. I did earn my bachelor's and my first master's at Ashford University, which of course now is UAGC. I earned a second master's degree from Old Dominion University. That's where I got my school library media endorsement. And then my Doctor of Education from Liberty University. I have taught in nursery schools, preschools, elementary school for a little while. When I worked in Nelson County, which is the Tye River Elementary School, I have been a special ed assistant. I have been a computer lab instructor. I was an instructional technology resource teacher, but my favorite role in there was being the school librarian. And I got to work with students from pre-K to 5th grade there. When I was an ITRT, of course, I worked with middle school, high school, and teachers. And again, I work for University of Arizona Global Campus. I do work for ODU a little bit, but my main gig right now is University of West Georgia. So let's talk a little bit about the magic of reading to children. We all here, I'm sure, are aware of the importance of reading to children, whether they're your own children or your students. But it's always good to have a little reminder. Reading to children helps them learn about the world around them. They get to see children and people from all across the world, people that are different than them, different than what they see in their own communities. It helps them develop empathy for others, because these students will get to see other people going through things, and it helps them realize, oh wow, I understand what you feel like, or I can feel for you. I understand that you might have a different struggle than what I have. It helps build their vocabulary and language. Books provide the opportunity for students to see and hear different words than what they may see and hear in everyday life, and we want to expose them to as much vocabulary as we possibly can, especially in our early childhood classrooms. It increases their concentration because they are sitting there engrossed in that story that you're reading to them and sharing with them. And so it helps to build that concentration and that amount of time that they can sit there. It increases their creativity. They get to see and hear all these wonderful stories, and it helps their creative juices to get to flowing. We could always have them draw pictures that relate to the story they just read, and it helps build that creativity. It helps to create lifelong readers. We don't want our students to stop loving books after they leave us, after they leave elementary school. We want them to be lifelong readers. We want our students to enjoy a good book even as an adult, and it improves their academic success. The more we read to them, the better off they're going to be throughout their school career. So we want to make sure we set them up for that success by reading to them often. Every preschool does circle time, does books differently. When I taught preschool, I would read several books a day. We would do different circle time. Sometimes we would start the day out, they would come in and play. We would read a little bit, do our circle time, have some other activities. We would end the day with a book as well. Sometimes I would read during snack time. I read as much as I could squeeze in because books are just magical. That's all I can say. They're just magical. So in today's session, we're going to talk about some high-tech ideas, some low-tech ideas, some ways we can bring in all of the senses when we're reading to our students. So we'll start out with our high-tech ideas. There are several really cool websites that we can use to enhance our story time. Now, I would not do this all the time. When I taught preschool, my preschool did not have any technology available. I didn't have a TV or a computer. I didn't even have a projector or anything. So this is not required. This is just, if you have these things available, if you have internet, if you have a computer, you could do these things. I did them with pre-K when I worked in the school library because of course I had them available, but I did not use any of these when I taught preschool because I didn't have them available. Of course, that's been a while ago too. And I know preschools have become a little more high tech than when I taught, but here's some ideas of things you can do. These websites listed here, Storytime Online, Epic, Starfall, Go Noodle, are all great for enhancing or contributing to story time in different ways. So we're going to take a little peek at them. And let me show you. So this is Storytime Online. And basically this is the Screen Actors Guild. These are actors and actresses, and they read children's books. So if you could play this during snack time, it's just great for them to hear different people read to them. And there are tons of stories on here. This one is one of my favorites, Harry the Dirty Dog, and it's read by the late, great Betty White. And it's just such a sweet story, and she does a great job reading it. My all-time favorite on here, though, is The Library Lion. I love this book myself. I like to read it myself to the students, but I also love the way Mindy Sterling reads it. She does the voices really well. And you just think about it, these are actors, so they're really playing into these stories. Epic is another great site. Educators can have a free account, and this has books that you can read on your own. It's got books that can be read to you. There are videos that can go along with your theme for the week. And then there are audio books where it just reads the books to you. But this is just another way to enhance story time. You can always incorporate like some of these educational videos or neat videos that could tie in with whatever theme or story you're reading. Starfall is another great site. I used to do this. I used to have a big TV. I also at one point had a smart board. So you could do this as a group. If you have computers or iPads that your students use, they could do this, but you can do the site all together. This is great for literacy and numeracy. I like that it has some books that are kind of fun because like you can make the jack-o'-lantern. So they're themed stories, but you could also just use this to help with their letters and their phonics. So if you're doing the letter A today, we're just going to pick the letter A. You would click on the letter A, and again, you can do this as a whole group, everybody just watching.
A.
And then you see where it sparkles down here. If you just click on the sparkles, and then again, it's sparkly here.
Apple.
And then when you go all the way through the letter at the end, there's a little game, and you can always do the game together. You could call one student up to help. This is just another neat way to use technology to enhance story time. We all know kids are wiggly, right? I was a wiggle worm. I still am a wiggle worm. Go Noodle is this fun site. And this is actually still my login from when I was the school librarian at Ty River. And you can see that I had for each grade, and then demo class was pre-K. I just never changed the title to pre-K. And what you do is you pick this little character. You see how each of them has a different character. And when you go to it, there are videos or activities that you can do, like movement, and it helps get the wiggles out. And so it's a lot of fun to do these with students, and you can do themed ones that go right along with whatever you're doing. So, and you can favorite them. So you'll see my heart is my favorites. And these were my favorites that I would do with my pre-K. I had some favorite ones that I really loved, and some were so-so. So you just have to kind of look through them and pick which ones were your favorite. We used to love to do Usher's ABC song. I used to love to do Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. And you can see how these say added from YouTube. Go Noodle provides some sites, but you can also suck some in from YouTube. So you can add in ones that you know are great songs or movement activities. And every time you complete one activity, your little character, if you see down here at the bottom, Nova Steamstein, she has 2 out of 10. So I would always do a math thing. My preschoolers loved, we would count. Okay, so she needs 2. She has 2 out of 10. How many left? 1, 2, 3. So we would count, and that would bring in counting to our story time. And you could have themed ones. So if it's Halloween time and you're reading about like pumpkins or reading the 5 Little Pumpkins, you could do that. And it's just playing the song, and you could do the movements. Melting is one that my preschoolers loved. And this is one provided by Go Noodle. And it basically, it has the kids tighten up all their muscles, and then they melt. And they melt all the way down to the floor, and they're laying flat on the floor, and then they get back up. And it's just a great relaxing kind of activity. Baby Shark, everybody knows Baby Shark. Cuckoo Kangaroo, these guys were some of my favorites. They're silly, they're crazy. Do the activities with them. So it's just a lot of fun. And if I had like a couple stories I wanted to read to them, we would often read a book, do a Go Noodle, read a book, do a Go Noodle. It just depends on how much time you have. You might only be able to read a book and then do a Go Noodle, or start with the Go Noodle to get the wiggles out. This is a lot of fun. There's some kind of yoga ones. There's lots of like relaxing techniques. So just a great fun website that you could incorporate into story time. And then there's Pete the Cat videos, the Pete the Cat website. And of course, it's not loading great. Let's see if I can reload it. But if you're reading Pete the Cat books, Pete the Cat website has all these different little snippets on here that you can play. They're the songs that go along with the books. So like I have Pete the Cat and his groovy buttons. You could always play.
Pete the Cat put on his favorite shirt with full, big, colorful, round, groovy buttons.
My buttons, my buttons, my 4 groovy buttons, my buttons, my.
And the kids just love to sing along with that and to see the animations that go along with the books. So that's just some of those high-tech ideas. Let's go back to the PowerPoint here. There is another high-tech idea that you can do, and I'm going to grab my cell phone here. It's called Novel Effect, and it's an app that you put on to your phone. And there are some that are free. There are some that you would have to pay for. You could do like a subscription. But there are lots of different books that you can do. And what it does is as you read the story, it puts sound effects behind what you're reading. So I am going to show you, I'm just going to go to 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. And because it's got an ebook on here. And I'm going to skip ahead there's a particular page that I want to read because it does such a good job. Here we go. I knew in a moment. Oh, there we go. I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. And let's see, there was another one that was so good. Here we go. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle. And away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. So hopefully you could hear that and hear the different sound effects. So you could always download Novel Effect and use the free ones if you didn't want to pay for it. I understand we often have a very limited budget when we teach preschool, but there are lots of free things that you can do if you have the technology available. Again, like I said, I did not. When I taught preschool, I did not have any technology. So there are lots of great low-tech ideas, and low-tech ideas are probably my favorite though, because it just helps the kids understand that a book is magic in itself. We don't need all that technology because technology is all around them. It's fun once in a while, but I love just enjoying a good book. So you could always use a puppet or a stuffed animal. This is one of my favorites. If you give a mouse a cookie, and I don't want to say that too loud because my dog is up here and she knows that word very well. But you could use a stuffed animal or a puppet, and they can help tell the story. So what? Oh, you want one. Well, what kind would you like? Chocolate chip? Oatmeal? Oh, you want oatmeal chocolate chip. That's one of my favorites too. So you could have the mouse help tell the story of, if you give a mouse a cookie, you could let the students hold the mouse. You could have like the student of the day, the star student can hold the mouse. There's lots of different ways you can just bring in a puppet or a stuffed animal. You could wear a costume. I would wear different costumes, but you could do as simple as a hat. And I would find hats all the time at thrift stores. So I've got like a little chef's hat. So I could wear a chef's hat if we're doing a book that has to do with cooking. Where my daughter got married, it was a living history museum. And in the gift shop, they had like an old bonnet. So I bought that. A dollar store crown that I painted gold because it was blue, which actually I think was my daughter's crown when she was a kid. One of my kids' Halloween costumes. My daughter was Mario one year. This is probably my favorite. Goodwill, $3, the Mad Hatter hat. Isn't it beautiful? $3. So you can do all kinds of costumes. I have a safari hat if you're going to do a jungle theme that week. This was one of my son's hats. He collected hats, and it's this derby, and he did not take it with him when he moved out on his own. So I would often wear this at school. So you could easily create a costume which kind of helps get you in character for the students. You can use props, like I said, like with the mouse, or I read a book called Benny's Pennies. It was an older book, but it was a great math story where this little boy had some pennies and he bought a paper hat. So I actually had I didn't know how to fold a newspaper hat, but one of my students did. So I had a student fold me a newspaper hat. And then I think there was a rose. I made pennies out of cardboard, and I would have the kids help me with that. There's lots of different ways you can incorporate props. Get the children involved. This was one of my favorites to read, Shake Them Halloween Bones. And let me just see if I can shrink this. Well, I would have to stop sharing. We'll leave that up. So Shake Them Halloween Bones. And I would tell the kids, guys, I need your help with this story. There's a part in the story that says, shake, shake, shake them bones now. And I need your help with that. And I would show them, we're going to shake our hands. Now, make sure they keep them close. Shake, shake, shake them bones now. And then it says, at the hip hop Halloween ball. And when it gets to that part, you're going to slap your legs. And I would get them to practice with me. And then we would do it. And because it repeats throughout the book. I just made up those movements. You could make different ones. You could do this with lots of different books. But let me read a little bit to you so you can see how that would feel. It's Halloween night. Jack-o'-lanterns glow in darkened windows. Goblins crouch behind front porch stoops. Witches peer from nearby rooftops. The city is quiet. The city is still. But as the lights go down, the music comes up. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4, shake, shake, shake them bones. Now shake, shake, shake them bones. Now shake, shake, shake them bones at the hip hop Halloween ball. And you would just, every time that comes up in the story, the kids would help me do it. They loved that. It is so good to get them involved in the book. It can be as simple as, you know, every time you hear the word dog, raise your hand or put your finger on your nose. Every time you hear the sound shh, put your finger on your nose. There's so many ways you can get them involved in the story. And that way they're listening, they're concentrating. But just to tell you a little bit more about this book, we would stop and talk about the characters because this is Lil Red. And so we would say, who's Lil Red? They said Little Red Riding Hood. And it's got lots of different nursery rhyme characters. This one is Jack with a cow to sell. And this is Tom Thumb. And it's just so much fun because they enjoyed picking out the different nursery rhyme characters that they were familiar with. Because of course, in preschool, you do a lot with nursery rhymes. So I use voices a lot when I read. And this is, I think, I discovered this book a few years before I stopped teaching in the library. It's called The Donkey Egg by Janet Stevens and Susan Stevens Crummell. And this is probably one of my favorite books to do voices with. I used to do a lot of voices with the Grumpy Bear books. Bruce is the bear and he's very grumpy. And I would have a different voice for each of the mice. And I couldn't tell you how many times my students asked me, how do you know what the characters sound like? And I tell them, I don't know. It just happens. It just comes out. I don't know. Even my fifth graders, when I was teaching in the elementary school, the fifth graders would ask me that. And they loved hearing me read books because I use those voices. I know some people aren't super comfortable with being silly and making silly voices, but your students will love it. So practice. You know, you might want to take the book home and practice in the privacy of your own home. And then when you're in front of your students, it's easier. Now, this story at the beginning, it shows the characters. Oh, first, let me tell you. So we would talk about, this is the donkey egg, and you could see, what is that? The kids would say, you know, I wouldn't ask. They would just say, that's a watermelon. And I'd say, well, no, it's called the donkey egg. No, it's a watermelon. And I'm like, well, I don't know. The book says it's a donkey egg. Let's read and find out, because maybe donkeys really do come from eggs. And so I would start out on this page where it introduces them, kind of getting into that voice, the characters. It says starring Bear, old, lazy, cranky, worked hard once, but not anymore, needs motivation. Hare, friendly, speedy, always running, wants a rematch with Tortoise. And, you know, do all the characters that way. Fox, clever, likes to play tricks, looking for mischief and some quick cash. And then when you read the story, of course, you have to do the voices. Now, of course, in this book, it's really cool because you have like the narrator voice. So that's just your normal voice. Up on the hill lived a grumpy old bear. His farm was a wreck and it needed repair. But Bear didn't care. He just slept in his chair and growled at his neighbors, Fox and Hare. And then over here he says, grrr. Got to play it up, you know. Wake up, Bear, cried Fox. I know you want to turn this place back into a mighty fine farm, grow some mighty fine crops, and have a mighty fine life. But you need help, and I've got just the thing. Grrr, growled Bear. What thing? Ta-da! A donkey. And then Bear, you know, he says, that's not a donkey. And then they talk about, you know, that a donkey does not come from an egg. And then Fox convinces him that, yes, donkeys come from eggs, just like those other animals. And he tricks him into giving him a $20 bill. And then over here, you're introduced to Hare. Neighbor Hare had just begun his daily run when he screeched to a halt. Bear, get out of your chair. I'm sitting on my donkey egg, growled Bear. What? Donkeys don't come from eggs? Yes, they do, cried Bear, like dinosaurs, chickens, alligators, platypuses, even tortoises. I'm keeping it warm so it'll hatch. Been sitting for a whole hour. No donkey. So you really got to get into those voices. And this book, I think, did I miss that page? Yeah, so this is pretty cool. In this book, it has some facts for you. It says, did you know? And then it tells you facts about an hour is equal to 60 minutes, is equal to 3,600 seconds. It takes a spider about an hour to spin a fancy web. So I would always make a point to say, did you know? And I would read the facts, and the kids would really, you know, of course they'd say, yes, I knew that. You know, they're so silly. And then this page here is one that my students would make me reread all the time. I can't tell you, every time I read this book, I had to read this. I'd go back when the book was over. They would want me to go back and sing the song. So be prepared, because I can't sing. What do I do now? Then Bear remembered. Keep it safe. Bear cradled the egg and sang, rock-a-bye donkey, my little one. Ripen and hatch, there's work to be done. If there is danger, I will be there. You'll be my donkey, I'll be your bear. So, you know, no matter how ridiculous you sound, your students will love it. If you can't carry a tune, go with it. They don't care. Students don't care. So that's just an example of using voices. When you find books, not every book lends itself to using voices, but when you find a great book that does, use the voices. And another thing is to pair books. So, and I'm sure a lot of you probably already do this, but it's just great to think about. So we find out, of course, that that really was a watermelon, and Bear goes and buys a donkey, which tricks the fox. He thinks that, maybe a donkey really did come from that. But anyway, you could pair this with another book called The Watermelon Seed, because this is about watermelons. This is kind of about a watermelon. So pairing books together is just a great way to get kids engrossed and involved in your story times. You could always tie this in with your snack and have watermelon that day for snack, which brings me to the next slide, which is activating all 5 senses. And I don't want to take credit for this idea. When I was teaching nursery school, preschool, I went to a professional development conference, and this was the best one I think I've ever had in all of my years of working in education. And it was called Sensational Stories, like senses, sensational story time or sensational stories. And I remember sitting in the room with all of the people that were there, and she did something like I want to say the Tupac tree, but I'm not sure that's the right title, but the K-pop tree. And so it was like a jungle theme. So she had jungle sounds playing. She would come around and mist us and passed around like some trail mix that had like pineapple and raisins and nuts in it. The point of this is to get all of the students' senses engaged and involved in story time. We all know that when we move, we can remember things better, or if we sing, we remember things better. When we incorporate more than one of our senses and our learning abilities, we learn more, we remember more. So activating all 5 senses can really do it. So first, set the stage. If you can decorate somehow, decorate. For example, when I did this, and I wouldn't do this every time, I would do this once in a while, just to as a fun day. I did, like, it was towards the end of the school year, so I did a beach theme. I think we were going to read like Mercer Mayer's Beach Day with Little Critter or something, and a couple other beachy books. So I strung a little string or a rope on the wall, and I hung a couple beach towels and my kids' bathing suits on there. I don't remember what else. Oh, I think we had the kids bring in beach towels and put them on the floor so they could sit on their beach towels while we read the stories. So decorate somehow for that sense of sight. Have a snack to go with the book. So I made sand pudding and we had whales. And I don't know if you know what sand pudding is, but I make it in a sand pail and dish it out with the sand shovel. And you grind up vanilla wafers so that they're like sand. You put a little at the bottom. You're going to layer this. Then you have vanilla pudding mixed with some Cool Whip and crunched up or mini Chips Ahoy, which is kind of like your treasure. And so you put that, and you put sand, and you put more pudding and sand, and you scoop it out. So we had that, and then we had like whales for snack that day. Have something for the sense of smell. So I think we had done like suntan lotion, because you can smell, it smells very beachy. I played some ocean sound effects. I had a cassette tape at the time, but you can find them online. You can play them on your phone, some sound effects that go with whatever theme you're doing, and have something sensory. So for that, I think that I had squirted them too for like an ocean mist. But if you have a sand table or a water table, they would be feeling what they would feel at the beach. So you could be very creative with this, and you could do it with lots of stories. I just went to the library the other day and I just grabbed a book that I thought would work. So this is called Honey. It's about this bear who obviously is looking for some honey. So for this, you could easily do like this for the site. You could decorate it, like put up, create some trees or something in your room, have some flowers. You could bring a teddy bear or have the kids each bring in a teddy bear. For the sense of smell, of course, you could have them smell what honey smells like. You could have flowers, because of course bees have to use flowers to get pollen to make honey. And you could have a whole science lesson there. We could go on and on. For the sense of taste, you could give them like toast with honey on it. Or you could have honey graham crackers or Teddy Grahams, because it's a bear. That would be fun. The honey Teddy Grahams. For the sense of sound, in this story later on in the book, you see there's a stream or a creek. So you could be playing the sounds and have like birds and creek. You could get a forest sound effect to play. And for the sense of touch, there's so many different things. You could spray them with water, because it also rains at some point in here. So you could spray them with water. You could have like a tree bark, because of course he's by trees. So you could bring in a piece of like a branch or something for them to feel what tree branch feels like. You could have a fan, because they're talking about a breeze blowing. The night's cooled, so you can have a breeze blowing. So there's lots of different ways to tie in all their senses. But again, this is something you might want to do a couple times a year at the most. You wouldn't want to do this every story time, but it just kind of amps up your story time and it makes it stupendous. So I hope that with all of this, I gave you some ideas of ways that you can make that story time stupendous. You can, there's so many different ways. You can use technology, you could do super low tech, which is what I love. You can have a lot of fun and make story time so exciting and get your students involved, get them excited about books and want to read and read with their family, read at school, and continue reading on throughout the rest of their life. It starts with us in early childhood education. So if you happen to have any questions, or if you would like to have a copy of this PowerPoint so you can access those sites, you are welcome to email me, Jessica Thompson at faculty@uagc.edu. I am happy to answer any questions, to send you the slides, anything I can do, you just let me know. And I thank you so much for joining me today, and happy reading.
Dr. Thompson, that was amazing. Thank you so much. And I sounded just like you in my classroom, and I knew that I couldn't sing, but my students still were up and dancing with me, and we had such a great time. And I will tell you, I've done lots of presentations on children's literature. I love teaching with children's literature, or I love cooking with children's literature, art activities. You can do so much with a child's book. So I 100% agree with you. And thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you. Hope to have you back again soon.
Thanks.